Hey boys, girls, and ancient pharaohs, welcome back to Doodling with Purpose. We're going to jump in as we do our week-by-week lesson. And first up, we're going to do last week's homework. And I actually spelled everything correctly and remembered to keep the homework this time. What a concept. All right, so the first thing you do in anytime you encounter new hieroglyphics is we're going to transliterate it. And that means your paper should look kind of like this, where you're just writing the letters, or rather the sounds, as well as any sound secondary notions like the commas and the dots and the lines to indicate how to pronounce the letters. And then you could throw in some equal signs and some periods where needed, because when things are possessive, that's how it works. So let's jump in. The first thing we've got the papyrus followed by the chick. Anytime you see this at the beginning, it is a sign that we're jumping into the past. This is not actually translated, it's more of a stop sign. It translates roughly to someone did something, but it's not actually written out. You don't when you're translating. It's just a sign to remind you, to jog the memory that we're in the past tense, because we're now encountering our first verb. This is the verb to enter, which we did last time, which is ak, which is the A like palm and the K like queen. Now this is followed by our water sign. If we have a water sign, it's like an ed at the end of the verb. So it becomes from enter to entered. And then that's followed by a pronoun, in this case, the male pronoun he. So that makes this he entered. So it changes the word enter, puts it into past tense, and gives it a pronoun telling you who did it. And this is written out with the verb equals n dot f, the f being the horned viper for he. All right. Next up, on our second line, we start off with per, which is the glyph for a house. That's the sort of, if you're looking above a house, looking down at a plan, a foundation, the space is the doorway. All right, you'll notice that there's a stroke line under the house glyph. This means that this is not just a pronunciation for per, but now it actually means what it is. PR, per, equals house. If you see a stroke line under a glyph that has a sound, letter sounds, then it turns it from just sounds to actually an ideogram, which means it's representing an actual house, and it means the word house in the sentence. Anytime you see a stroke line, that's what changes the glyph from just sound to an ideogram. Definitely important because it happens. All right, next up we have our good buddy the owl. As you remember, the owl is pronounced M. It's one of my favorite glyphs to draw because it's the only bird that's looking directly at you. Everything else is looking to the side. So this is a quick review of common prepositions. We did this a while back, but for new students and for those who, hey, good refresher, these are four of the more common prepositions. There's others. So here I'm just drawing lines to show that they're different words. So we have in, which is by. We have m, which can be in, with, from, or as. And we'll come back to that. Then, of course, we have towards a person, towards a place. But that M, that owl, that has four different meanings, well, we'll apply them and basically figure out from the context of the sentence which version or which meaning this is. So it could be either in, with, from, or as. So we have he entered the house, or a house, because there's no articles in ancient Egyptian. Then either in, with, from, or as, and we'll figure out which translation it works best based on the context of the sentence, followed by our last word. So that's a repeat of the letters we saw above for he entered, but with the determinative changed, it becomes the word friends. So that makes the whole sentence, he entered the house, or a house. Now, it could be in, with, from, or as, but probably what works best is with. So he entered the house with friends, because from friends, in friends, as friends just doesn't work. All right, let's jump into the B's. And I don't mean like, Honey Nut Cheerios. So this is our first double consonant bilateral B sound, which is ba-ah, the ah being like the palm, ah. I know it's not that different from father, but ancient Egyptian had a different way of speaking. All right, so this is a stork, like the guy who brings babies. So this would be pronounced ba-ah, going up with the ah. I tend to think of it like a sheep, right? Like ba. It's a bird that thinks it's a sheep. I know, that's like a terrible sheep I just did. All right, so here is a word that uses this letter. So here we have ba'a, followed by the two hands up in the air, which, if you recall from the first half of the class, is ka, followed by a determinative. The determinative is a star, which does have a sound of sa, but again, when you're seeing the sign at the end, and it's a determinative, it's just a sign to jog your memory of what you're looking at. So with the star, this means the morrow, meaning in the morning, or rather when the day changes, meaning at midnight. All right, next up we have this funny looking guy, which starts with a loop up, straight line up, and then a straight line back to that loop. What you're drawing here is a tusk, an elephant tusk. Again, all hieroglyphics are based on what ancient Egyptians were encountering day by day. So with the dot under the H, we know this is the back of throat H, so it's bah, bah, and the back of the throat. Now this is one of those odd letters that does have two different pronunciations. It could also be chawa, chawa, so bah or chaw. It's usually ba. It's usually B with the H at the back of the throat. The H at the back of the throat with the W, the chaw, it's rarer, but it does happen. So, hey, it's important to go over it and put it in our, quiver, if you will, of all of our hieroglyphic arrows. Boy, weird metaphor. Okay, so elephant tusk. Here it is used in a word. So, ba, and then we have the S, single sound glyph, and then a really terrible determinative that I drew of an animal. Hopefully you can recognize what that animal is. I know I'm not the world's greatest animal drawer, but again, you always start with the neck, around to the head, and then the back, and then the legs. And that little sort of dip thing, that's supposed to be the udder, if you will. So that's how you know it's a cow and not a donkey or something else, because it's got udders. All right, so let's throw it all into a sentence. And a hint for those of you who may not recall vocabulary from the first half of the class, that first word on the bottom half is the word hub. The determinative is a festival. It's a canopy is what you're looking at. So that's the word festival. I'll give you that hint if you don't recall that, but we did go over it in the first half. All right, keep going, and we'll review the homework next week. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us for Doodling with Purpose. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate you being in class so much. Any questions, let me know, and I'll make sure to comment back and answer them. Thanks for being part of here, and I'll see you next week.